Senate and said, we're carving out a new, by analogy to the existing categories, a new exception. Your point is, no, they're closed, they're frozen forever.
Correct. And the way I would put it is
you would
that
need
the
to amend
Citizenship
it,
Clause
correct?
of the 14th Amendment,
Yep, that means it's frozen.
universal rule with a closed set of exceptions. It sets a floor. So the Congress has, under the Naturalization Clause, the power to expand citizenship to other people not covered by the 14th Amendment, and obviously they have in many ways, but they can't go below that floor that the Constitution sets.
I think Mr. Sauer acknowledged that, and you mentioned this in your opening, that if we agree with you on how to read Wong Kim Ark, then you win. So that could be if we did agree with you on Wong Kim Ark, that could be just a short opinion, right? That says the better reading is respondents' reading. Government doesn't ask us to overrule, affirmed.
Yes.
That's that. Then last question, though, why would we address the constitutional issue? This is the last one. Why would we address the constitutional issue, given your argument on the statutory? Our usual practice, as you're well aware, of course, is to resolve things on statutory grounds and not to do a constitutional ground.
Capable of repetition yet evading
I think
review.
we obviously have these two paths to a win here. We're happy to win on either or both of them. I do think it would be prudent for the court to reaffirm its decision in Wong Kim Ark, where it's a landmark decision about the definition of national citizenship in this country. I just think it would be prudent for the court to go ahead and reaffirm that, but of course we're happy to take a win on any ground.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm feeling a little better about Kavanaugh right now.
Justice Barrett.
So I have a question about the exceptions again. So in your interchange with Justice Kavanaugh just now, you were talking about it as a closed set of exceptions. And said that way, it sounds like exceptions that people had in mind at the time of the ratification, but that were not explicit in the amendment. But I took your brief to be arguing that subject to the jurisdiction thereof is the language in the 14th Amendment that refers to those exceptions. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay.
It describes them.
It describes them. And would you say, this goes back to a question that Justice Gorsuch asked General Sauer, our relationship to the Indian tribes is different today than it was at the time that the 14th Amendment was ratified. Let's put aside Section 1401. Is a tribal Indian born on a reservation today on tribal land?
You can totally do that. I just didn't want to be late.
A natural-born citizen
and I wanted
under
to
the 14th
finish
Amendment.
this. So
under the 14th Amendment,
if you guys want to give your viewership to Cass, go send her heartbeats, tap, do all those things. You absolutely can, and then you can come back here when this is done.
And so is that because what's subject to the jurisdiction of meant when you say closed set of exceptions? It means that the jurisdiction as it existed at the time of the 14th Amendment is still the jurisdiction today? So let me just be a little bit clear. Justice Kavanaugh asked you if we could create new categories by analogy. So there may be other sorts of people who are present here to whom this subject to the jurisdiction in the same way that we were talking about, the bubbles around ambassadors or the soil of occupied territory or the soil of tribal land.
Hi, Dragons, Celts.
Those new carve-outs could exist by analogy today. Like if the United States carved out some portion of some state and suspended it from its jurisdiction. Wouldn't the principle still apply?
No, Justice Barrett, for two reasons. The first is, again, that there is a closed set.
But why is it closed? The language doesn't say it's closed.
Sure. We know it's closed because the very purpose of the Citizenship Clause was to foreclose new exceptions. That's clear from the debates. And I would say that the language describes a closed set as well. Because it's
so from what I'm understanding, Barrett's trying to probe how far can Congress go?
They say, look, what if Congress, in order to do an end run, in order to change the meaning of the 14th Amendment as to unauthorized immigrant children, Congress
so this is live SCOTUS argumentation on birthright citizenship that Cass is showing. I just didn't want to miss it. The end. I've been listening since it began.
It's not.
So, like I said, I
understand
right?
because the government's is a little bit different.
I understand
than
if
the
you want to
use
go
solely theory, right?
watch Cass and then you can
that's
come
right.
back.
I'm
I
just
just didn't
saying
want to
that
be
in the
late for you
second
guys,
step
but I would
of their
understand
argument
that
as to
completely to give her the
undocumented immigrants, where
viewership
they have
instead
to
of
get
me,
around
but
the
I
fact
wanted to finish
that
this.
undocumented immigrants, by and large, are domiciled in the United States. They're trying to say, look, we're gonna manipulate the law either to define domicile or to carve out, to say, just wave a magic wand and say these babies are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. There's still a missing factor under that original meaning of this.
This is Barrett asking the ACLU question.
There is another sovereign who can exercise jurisdiction over this person, even though they're in the United States.
Yeah, Daniel, I plan
And this
to talk
gets me
about
back
that.
to the question you asked Justice Alito. The difference between an ordinary non-ambassador foreign national and everyone who's subject to one of those jurisdictions is that even if you take the government's argument and say a foreign national is subject to their country of nationality's jurisdiction in the United States, it's actually not true. If I'm a French national in the United States, France cannot come into the United States, arrest me, and try me for a crime under French law. And that's what sets ordinary foreign nationals apart from ambassadors.
Well, no, I mean, I understand. That wasn't quite the hypothetical. I understand that. Let me just ask you. No, that's okay. Let me just ask you one last question about Indians. So I gather what you're saying is that Congress cannot expand the set of, we'll call them exceptions, right? But you're saying it can't contract them either, and that was the Indian example. So what if, again, putting aside Section 1401, what if our relationship with tribal Indians has changed so much that we would say, no, Indians really are fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States in the way any other, natural-born citizen is? You're saying that that doesn't change the constitutional status of Indian citizenship.
Let me be clear. What I'm saying is that the meaning of the 14th Amendment is we have to go with the original public meaning. And obviously, at the very time that the framers were, thinking
Jeff,
about the 14th Amendment, at the time of ratification, that relationship between
It takes
the United
months
States
for them to release it, and they know it'll be a
tribal
big
nations was in flux. Right, the government has made various arguments.
It was the
about
same with the
Congress's
IEPA
authority,
decision, right?
But the
It
way
was
the
like we were
framers
waiting and
thought
waiting
about
and
it,
waiting. We knew it
and
was
the
going to
way
be
that
something
Wong Kim
big.
Ark describes it is that there was a unique
Hi,
constitutional status, unlike any other relationship.
Yes, this
between
argument
sovereigns
is
around
about
the world,
birthright citizenship.
between the United States and the Indian tribes. And that is what gave rise to the pre-existing exclusion of Indian tribal members from U.S. citizenship, and that's what the 14th Amendment captures.
Justice Jackson?
So I want to understand how you are responding to the government's argument that because temporary visitors and undocumented immigrants are still governed by their home countries, and in the government's take on this, you can't have you can have allegiance to two different sovereigns. Those groups can't have the requisite allegiance to be subject to the United States for the purpose of the 14th Amendment. That's what I hear the government saying, but I do think that that seems to...
I just want to address C. Franco in my YouTube chat real quick. You said he's a brilliant president, he's doing a great job. He keeps losing. He's not doing a great job at anything, but sure.
Rest, which common law, you can see that you can have allegiance to two different sovereigns at the same time. This kind of goes back to Justice Alito's questions. I mean, I was thinking about this, and I think there are various sources that say this, that you obviously have permanent allegiance based on being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes. But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign. And I was thinking, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan. And what it means is that, if I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they control you as a matter of law. I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen it. So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary traveler, I'm just on vacation in Japan, I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense. Is that the right way to think about it? And if so, doesn't that explain
Not my favorite
why
argument.
both temporary residents and
I will be right
undocumented
back.
people would have that kind of quote-unquote allegiance just by virtue of being in the United States?
That's absolutely right, Justice
It was
Jackson,
reported
and
that Trump
comports
left
with the
halfway
plain
through,
text
so he's not there
of
anymore.
The 14th Amendment,
I'm
as it
surprised he
applies
didn't
to
fall asleep.
everyone
That's what I thought he would
born in
do.
the United States, other than those subject to the exceptions.
He
that
doesn't
were
like
baked in
opposing
to the
arguments, so.
You owe natural
Natty.
allegiance as
Hi,
a
guys.
U.S.
I know,
born
different
citizen.
start today.
If you
Sorry,
want
I
to
just
look at
wanted
the
to hear
parents
this.
of those people, and let's say the parents are foreign nationals but not ambassadors, the parents owe temporary allegiance.
Right, so the
under
babies
English common
get the
law.
permanent allegiance piece of this, and the parents get the local allegiance piece of this. So to the extent we're looking for allegiance, we have it.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Rebuttal, General Sauer?
So the allegiance, though, had to deal with whether you were acting as an agent of the other government.
Thank you, Mr. Chief
So
Justice. Justice Kavanaugh, turning to Lynch against Clark, that you raised didn't come up when I was talking about. Keep in mind that we say that it's questioned at the time. It's questioned by a higher court in the same state, the state of New York, in the Ludlam decision in 1860, specifically said that someone who's traveling or sojourning abroad, though born in a foreign country, is not born in foreign allegiance. So obviously there is tension within that very state, and that's what contemporary commentators noted. And I make a more fundamental point about that. Lynch is not interpreting the 14th Amendment because it predates it. So it's not looking at the language
still
of
had
the 14th
slavery
Amendment. It's
then.
looking at, what does the word citizen mean, for example, in the clause. So there's an anachronism to their reliance on it. And I think that turns to a point that Justice Alito emphasized. Once you get to that language of the 1866 Civil Rights Act, where Congress said not subject to any foreign power, clearly, we are no longer dealing with the British conception of allegiance, because Calvin's case and Blackstone say whether you're subject to another foreign power is irrelevant.
This from the guy who mentioned other countries do this.
The concession to be made that those two mean the same thing, which this court held in General Building Contractors, that the Civil Rights Act has the same scope as the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment. Once you're saying not subject to any foreign power, Congress has clearly departed from the common law, the British conception of allegiance, that monarchical
that's not true.
allegiance. They have adopted the Republican conception of allegiance, and there's all kinds of evidence going back to the late 1700s that that's the way they thought about it. And there was a reference, I think, in my friend's presentation about the Marshall Woodworth treatise from the late 1890s. That treatise also, just like Lynch against Tark, the language they quote is actually describing the case or the law, the status of the law before the adoption.
It's not Kennedy. His name is John D. Sauer.
So, but if you
But
actually
he
look
sounds
at
like
the
he
treatises
is
we
related
cited
to
then,
Kennedy.
It's
rough.
Wharton, Morris,
His voice
Justice
is
Samuel
rough.
Miller of this court, Lesser, Black, Hall, Winchester, Taylor, Westlake, Ballot. There's this consensus going from the time of the 14th Amendment onward, and they're looking at the specific question of temporarily present individuals in the jurisdiction. All those sources say their children are not citizens. And that goes both before and after Wong Kim Ark. You see a similar consensus actually in the congressional debates, where whenever it comes up, temporary sojourners, it's understood, the context indicates it's clearly understood that those children are not citizens. And I would be, therefore, finish where I began with drawing a stark contrast and turn back to the first question that Justice Thomas acted. That Republican Congress in 1866 had a very, very clear understanding that the children of the newly freed slaves have the requisite allegiance to the United States. This was all about overruling the grave injustice of Dred Scott and making sure that allegiance was granted to the children of slaves. However, you have this contrast of a very, very strong, impressive consensus, both in the original understanding, in the congressional debates, and carrying over into commentators for 50 years afterwards, that the children of temporary sojourners are not covered. And for those reasons, we ask the court to reverse.
I wonder if Thomas just sits in that guy's office.
The case is submitted.
Whew.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a lot.
Let me get out of the air. They will discuss it now. That's what they will do. And they're fantastic at doing that. But we will get our day started. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me at that weird beginning, but I had started listening to those arguments. That is a very, 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 very important case to our country on birthright citizenship. So I started watching it on Cass's this morning, and I wanted to finish it. I did not want to have to go back. We were already in a groove, so we were going to finish it. So I appreciate it so much. Guys, welcome in. Good morning or good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. I appreciate you guys being here today. It is Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. So we're going to get our day started. Make sure you tap that screen, share the live out, do your daily heart if you have not done so. You guys knocked out those roses, which I appreciate. So now I've got some little hot cross buns up here. If we could help boost me onto the algorithm with that, that would be wonderful. I do have an outline for you today, so we will get that started. I have my 100 goal that I have every single day. Guys, this is my job. I do this for a living. So if you guys could help me pay my bills, that would be wonderful. I would appreciate it. The pay links for that are in my bio, Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal, which, speaking of, I want to say a thank you. Let me make sure that I open the message first, just in case. No, okay. Thank you, Donald, for the $5 on PayPal. Thank you for everything you do. Are the Republicans as dumb as they seem? It would appear. I would like to hope that they're not. I would like to hope that they are smarter, because unfortunately for them, Donald Trump and the GOP think that they are dumb, and I want them to prove them wrong. But here we are. So thank you. So 9-5 is actually where we're at. So I appreciate you guys so much. In regards to the SCOTUS argumentation, from what I've listened to today, the liberal judges, obviously, they don't sound impressed. I don't think they sound impressed at all. Barrett didn't sound impressed by the government's argumentation. Now, she was a bit harsh on the other side, but I think that is just to kind of bring in, oh my God. What is that? It's a beehive. To bring in, that kind of critique questioning, to make sure, like, hey, you have answers for this. I know you have answers for this. Make sure that you are. I don't think Gorsuch was impressed by the argumentation of the government, and I don't think that Roberts was either, but we won't know until they issue their opinions, obviously. We just never know. By the way, guys, it is April 1st. Happy Autism Awareness Month. That is why I'm wearing blue for autism awareness today. That is what I'm doing. Illegals shouldn't be able to have citizens. Well, then nobody here would be a citizen, because y'all came from somewhere else, which you white people. Hi, sandwich. Bye, sandwich. Okay, cool.
Hello.
Hello.
It's also a Military Child Month as well.
Yay, it's our month.
Yay.
Trauma. All right.
Yeah, trauma.
So let's get started here this morning. We have more polling. He doesn't like when we start with the polling, guys. So again, I'm going to start my outline, but make sure we are doing all of the good things here. And also in my pay links, I would appreciate it very, very, very much. I have the phone lines open. So if you are a Trump supporter or you are MAGA, you can call in and have a discussion about why you still support Trump. I am going to have that discussion only based off of factually based evidence and not your feelings. So when you tell me why you support him, I don't care about the things that you would write in your diary, how you think he's an alpha and you glaze him. That's all private. That's for you, sweetheart, you and your therapist. That has nothing to do with me. But when you give me something that's going to require facts, the law, statistics to back it up, you better be ready. I actually don't know. Is this N10? Is this good boy? It's not. It's actually just a panel talking about polling. That's disappointing. But I'm sure we'll get good boy, Red Bull, good boy another day.
Look at these numbers there in terms of of the president's job performance. 62% to disapprove and only 33% approve when you add the 16 and 17% there. But when you look at a broader perspective, the CNN poll of polls, that's an average of all the polls here. It's about in track with that, not quite as negative, but our CNN a poll of polls that shows that 37% approve of the president's handling of his job performance in office and 61% disapprove. That's 6 in 10 Americans. And we ask why that is. Look at some of these issues here, some of the top issues that the administration is dealing with on inflation, on jobs, on immigration.
That's rough. You remember that big inflation thing that you guys talk about that you have no fucking clue what you're talking about? You don't know what inflation was when Joe Biden actually left office. You literally just sit there and you say June of 2022, but you don't even know that it's June of 2022 because Trump lies to you, and you like it when he lies to you. The fact that he has a 71% disapproval on inflation is bad. Ratified, you said lies. Again, this is polling. So what this does, and they source it, okay, is a sample of the whole. So March 20th through 25th is when they ran this poll. Okay, we're going to go through how this is sourced. I have to do it every single day with you guys because you don't understand it. This was a University of Massachusetts Amherst poll. Okay, that's where this poll was conducted. And here is your margin of error, plus or minus 3.5 percentage points, which is a relatively high margin of error. So if you think that these are lies, you think this number is wrong, I would be happy, glad to see a poll that says otherwise. Find me a right-wing poll about specifically inflation, jobs, and immigration approval that has him higher than what we're seeing, that has him above 50%. I would like to see that. I welcome it. Okay.
Essentially down the line, but the inflation number, 24% approve, 7 in 10 Americans disapprove. And this is something that obviously is worrisome for the White House with the gas prices, with just rising affordability concerns across the board, but also on Iran. That is something that is clearly hanging over this White House. Look at these numbers here. When asked for the president's approval or disapproval on Iran, only 29% approve of military strikes against Iran, 54% to disapprove. And one of the reasons for this is talking to so many people. The president did not build sort of a rationale for why he was striking Iran. And as we enter the second month here with tens of thousands of potential troops in the region, the question, of course, will ground troops be sent in? The defense secretary this morning was asked about that. Essentially, is this going to be at odds with the Republican base? He said this. He said, I don't know why Trump's base wouldn't have faith in this commander-in-chief and the president. So certainly many questions here, but the White House is dealing with low approval ratings because of just the climate of uncertainty here and the economic worries as well.
But to be fair, his approval wasn't good even before we went and attacked Iran. It wasn't. It was starting to fall already. It was in the 40s. I had seen as low as 37 at the time. Now 37 is like the high if you can find it for approval. So that's not good, which makes him mad, right? So here's him in the Oval Office yesterday complaining about the polls and only talking about the one, which he's going to claim nobody talks about, which is interesting because I literally played it on my show.
Is that I see CNN did a poll and they talked about voters or MAGA voters, and my poll came out at 100%. Nobody covers that poll.
I literally played it. Everybody that I know talked about it. And the reason we talked about it is to say that, yes, the CNN ran a poll that said people who identify as MAGA approve of Donald Trump 100%. All that proves to me is my theory that you are the ones who have TDS because you approve of him 100% like a cult. You can't critique him at all. So the real TDS is you are so deranged in your love for Trump's taint that you have to pretzel yourself to continue to defend every single thing he does, and you can't critique him. Okay. No, 7-Eleven, I'm not going to block you. You can just find a way out. You figure that out. Okay?
They had another poll was at 92% approval.
Where? I would love to see that. 92% approval where? It was probably Republicans again.
I think that the people understand it. We'll be leaving very soon, and if France or some other country wants to get oil.
I will play the rest of that because I have that same clip, but I have the rest of that later for my Iran section. So we'll talk about that next. Where do I want to start here? Olive, are you there?
I'm here.
Do you remember there's a specific person that we've been like, where has that bitch gone? She campaigned to be president and then didn't even get a cabinet position.
Jill Stein?
No.
Oh, fuck. Nikki Haley.
Found her. I found her.
Uh-oh.
She's back. Don't know where she's been hiding after she didn't get a job. But here she is talking about who the real winner is in regards to lifting the sanctions on this oil because we have a fucking crisis because Donald Trump's an idiot and started a war of choice. So Nikki Haley is back to talk about who the real winner is. Newsflash, it's not us.
I think Russia's probably the biggest winner in this because oil prices have gone up, and now doing deals with India and getting their oil moving again. They're the ones that, and no U.S. pressure on Ukraine, Russia right now.
We're moving big pieces here, aren't we?
We're moving big pieces, but this is doable. This is something that, you know, Iran is going in the right direction. I think pulling back on Russia and putting pressure on China is going to be important, and getting the regional allies and our European allies to understand, look, we're all dependent on this from a global economy.
How is it putting pressure on Russia to allow them to sell their oil now?
Well, also, our allies have been very vocal on a lot of things, to the point where three of our allies decided to do a State of the Union last night, and
So let's all step in and finish this. I mean, the idea that we could have peace in the Middle East for the first time is pretty remarkable. They're almost there, but it's...
I thought he already did that. I thought he did that in his first term with those Abraham Accords. I thought we had peace in the Middle East. Nikki?
Fuck those Abraham Accords.
Sweetie, they're still not going to give you a job.
Those Abraham Accords did jack shit.
A little bit of patience with the U.S. public. The key is you want to maintain a strong military. You don't want to maintain a war. But if you're going to do it right and finish.
By the way, I know that bitch gives bad head because she can't even open her mouth when she speaks. Anyway.
Does she have brain to do it?
So here is Pete Hegseth from December of 2025 talking about how this administration specifically is not going to do regime change war at all. So this is December of 2025.
The War Department will not be distracted by democracy building, interventionism, undefined wars, regime change.
Okay. So this administration will not be defined by regime change. Okay, I got it.
Climate change, woke, moralizing, and feckless nation building.
Okay, so we're not going to do those things. Got it. I'm glad you made that promise to me. That makes me feel really, really good as an American, Pete Hegseth. So I'm sure you're going to reiterate that today or yesterday.
The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred.
Wait, what? You're telling me that they lied? Oh my God. Oh, Consuelo said it's not regime change. Sweetheart, you should have waited until you sent that comment. You should have waited.
Didn't he just say it was? Like, you guys will twist and turn and do all the fucking bullshit to make yourself feel better about the man you voted for. Why can't you just admit that you didn't know who the fuck you voted for?
Or you didn't care.
Right.
You don't care what he does. Yeah, could be that. So I'm going to play this, and we're going to play it all the way through. He admitted it was regime change that happened.
The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last. President Trump will make a deal he is willing, and the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity. The new Iranian regime...
Which there's no guarantee of that, because as Caroline Leavitt admitted, which is going to be a problem for her in the future, for her Nuremberg trial, is that if you lie to the U.S. during negotiations, apparently we are just allowed to murder you. So I guess that's a thing. So yeah, here's where... Which even that, I didn't even think about that when I played it yesterday. RTP brought up a good point, which is that not only is that a bad thing to admit anyway, you're admitting to war crimes, but also supposedly Israel was the one whose strikes killed the leaders. But Caroline Leavitt made it sound like it was us. Which one was it? Dragon, what would you like me to prove? Prove what? I'm talking about something Caroline Leavitt said. I literally played it on my show yesterday.
Chad, God, Hexeth gives me physical dry heaves.
Okay, so this is Donald Trump in the office yesterday. This was the part I was talking about, and that I stopped the video for so that it could play longer. And he's going to talk about what they've all been talking about that I went off about yesterday, which is that they started this mess. They didn't consult any of our allies before they did. They found out at the same moment as the people did that we were doing this. And yet now we want them to come in and clean up the mess we made. I'm not even talking about that today, Dragon. I'm not even talking about that. He said, prove he's a pedo. I'm not making that claim because I'm not talking about that. Focus up. Focus up. So again, the United States made a mess without consulting our allies, but now we would like our allies to come in and clean it up.
And if France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the Strait and Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. I think it'll be very safe, actually, but we have nothing to do with that. What happens in the...
We have nothing to do with it, then why did we fuck with them? Thank you for calling the stream. Can I get your age, your state, and who you voted for? Hello? Okay. If we
can hear you fucking breathe.
That's right. Thank you for calling the stream. Can I get your age, state, and who you voted for? That's cute. Look. Okay. If we have nothing to do with the Strait, why did we fuck with a country that'll close the Strait then?
Strait, we're not going to have anything to do with, because these countries, China will go up and they'll fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do it. We hit them hard.
Nobody asked you to. Nobody asked you to. That's the problem, my guy. And then we have a new timeline, because like we said, they asked Caroline Leavitt what the timeline was, because Donald Trump said 4 to 6 weeks. We are on week 5. So they're going to ask him what's the timeline for getting the fuck out of there. Can anybody guess what he says?
On the Strait, but if they want something, but I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities.
Like the healthcare plan, right? We were going to see a healthcare plan in 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
Within 2 wees. Sure. 2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks.
As you probably read or wrote, we knocked out, excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks. We'll leave.
Oh, we'll leave. Okay. So the countdown begins again, where he lies to you guys and you don't care. Interesting. The markets have rallied again today, simply because of the fact that Donald Trump has been tweeting that supposedly, or not tweeting, truthing, that supposedly the regime in Iran is ready to negotiate and that he is also ready to negotiate. He has also been saying that he is ready to leave, even if we do not get the Strait open. So he knows this is bad. It was a really bad year to start a war for him. Yeah, it was supposed to be 2 weeks from the initial strikes, but here we are. Okay, let's go down. Where do I want to go to? Let's go down to judicial, I guess. We'll go all over the place today because I wanted to get to this. Hold on. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this up and then I can bring in, do I have the actual court? It's on the thing, so I'll just get it from there. Okay. So just in, FBI agents who worked on Trump probes have filed a class action lawsuit saying their abrupt firings violated due process and civil service laws. So what happened, let me see if I can find that video actually real quick, is we know anyway that the FBI went in and anyone who worked on investigations into Donald Trump's alleged crimes and schemes and corruption was promptly fired from the administration. Todd Blanche even admitted this at CPAC. And now, with that fucking admission, which doesn't help, they have filed former FBI employees who were fired have filed a lawsuit, class action lawsuit against the administration. So let's see. Here it is. Here's the clip from Todd Blanche.
And when it comes to the FBI, which takes a lot of criticism, especially because of what happened over the past several years, Director Patel has cleaned house there too. There isn't a single man or woman with a gun, federal agent, still in that organization that had anything to do with the prosecution of President Trump. And
that's not allowed. You can't fire people because they investigated a president. They were doing their jobs. So they're now going to file a lawsuit. I'm sure this will be entered into evidence. It's going to be really, really fun for this administration once again. And I was going to bring up, so I have that as well, just so you guys know, because I always have it linked, the actual case. So you have plaintiffs are a proposed class of former career Federal Bureau of Investigation FBI employees who have faithfully served our country, doing the right thing the right way for the right reasons, while scrupulously and quietly hewing to the ethos of the FBI, fidelity, bravery, integrity. Defendants, the current director of the FBI, Kashyap P. Patel, and Attorney General Pamela J. Bondi have since the beginning of 2025 embarked on a public campaign to oust plaintiffs from federal service because defendants perceive them to be political opponents, as if fidelity to the law and the proper execution of assignments were somehow hostile partisan acts. So it's going to be part of the premise of their lawsuit. That one. And so, like I said, we started out the day finishing up the argumentation for SCOTUS. This is just kind of Joe Scarborough yesterday on Morning Joe, kind of giving a discussion about how this was going to be, and it was an uphill battle for the government to argue.
I mean, Mr. Attorney General, I must say, you read the 14th Amendment, it could not be more clear. Like, the Supreme Court threw out this racist argument in 1898. 1898. I will tell you truthfully.
Which is true. So that was part of the issue with the argumentation this morning, is that John D. Sauer on the side of the government is arguing, I believe it was, did he say 1866 or 1886? and he wants to stick right there. But the problem is we have had argumentation in regards to birthright citizenship. 66, thank you, Blue. 1866 stipulations is where John Sauer wants to sit. But the problem is you have all these cases after that. So that's what the justices were asking him. Like, are you asking us to overrule our previous decisions? Because they just say our colloquially as a part of the dynasty of SCOTUS, right? And he says no. So they're already conceding that these cases still stand, while at the same time saying we need to go back to this. You can't really live on that hill, but that's what they're trying to do.
The reason I am actually excited about this is because I want to know if Clarence Thomas and Alito both decide they're going to have the guts to side with Donald Trump in abolishing the 14th Amendment, because the clear language of the 14th Amendment states what birthright citizenship is. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States.
Right. And so their argumentation was that if we're going to, they have multiple arguments on the textual language, right? So all persons born, the government is arguing born, meaning you have to have domicile. You have to have place of stay here, and in way of domicile, if you are born here, but the domicile would be of your parents, and if your parent, I don't know why he's yelling, he always does that, I don't really like Joe Scarborough, he yells a lot. But yeah, so they're arguing domicile, and they're saying if you are born to parents whose domicile is temporary here, although you would then have to define what makes it temporary, because you have green card holders who are not technically born here. You have asylum seekers who have legal status but not technically born here. So that would be an argumentation about legal status versus your domicile. But if your child born here and your parents are not, their domicile will then not be the United States, and so all persons born would not apply to them. That was the government's argumentation. Didn't really go well. And then they were arguing subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, John Sauer is trying to go based off an argumentation that jurisdiction means allegiance, and that your allegiance would have to be to this country and not to a foreign nation, and basically insinuating that due to the fact you were not born here, but you came here and your status may be temporary, that because of that status being temporary, your allegiance would then be to another country and not to the United States. It was wild argumentation. It really, really was. Most of the justices did not sound like they were having it. Alito, obviously the most, he's a piece of shit, was siding with the government and trying to help him with his argumentation. And Clarence Thomas actually asked the first question and asked it in regards to Dred Scott. Not great questioning, but there was actually a really good, fair question that he asked. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're going to fall, but it is an interesting thing to listen to the government try to go backwards.
And Donald Trump is trying to get that overturned.
It's true. And he was there, right? He went there, which has never happened in the history of SCOTUS argumentation. He went and sat for the arguments that John D. Sauer presented. And then apparently when it came time for the ACLU's lawyer to argue, he got up and left, is the reporting that we're getting. Why? Because one, he was probably going to fall asleep and he needed a nap. And two, because he doesn't like opposition argumentation. He doesn't even want to listen to it, which again is just delusional to not at least hear the other side. That's a problem. You know, he's trying to be intimidating. All he was going to do, Lunati, is piss them off. Like, Chief Justice Roberts is not going to like that. Gorsuch was not going to like that. You don't get to push around these people who have a lot more experience than you do in a position that they've earned. It's just not going to happen. Guys, while we're sitting here, there is 100 of you over here on TikTok. Let's boop that screen. You have about 15 minutes to hit 50,000 likes. So let's see if we can do that. I believe in you. I know you guys can. We were not with it with the likes yesterday, so let's see if we can do better. I would appreciate it. And I also have about, what is that? I can count. 18? Yeah, 18 hot cross buns left if we can get that filled out over here on TikTok. If you are on the YouTube, if you would like to like the stream that you're watching, I would appreciate it as well. I am multi-streaming, so I am on Twitch and YouTube. If you would like to go over there on Twitch, you can follow, and then there's also subscriptions. There's bits and stickers, fun things over there. And if you are over here on YouTube, if you want to subscribe for free, or there are memberships, there are also jewels, donations, super chats, so are a lot easier for me to read your chats if the chat's going by too fast for me to read. The lowest one you can do is $1.99 to make sure I can see your chat. And I have 9.5 left in my goal today, guys. If we could get that knocked down today, that would be wonderful. I would appreciate it. This is my job. Make sure you are tipping your content creators. Even if we do a $1 or $2 train, send out your little message to me through those pay links in my bio, and we can get this motherfucker knocked out as we keep going. Yesterday was not a good day for Donald Trump judicially, though. Unfortunately for him, judge temporarily blocks construction of Trump's White House ballroom. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's construction of a 90,000 square foot ballroom to replace the White House's East Wing. U.S. District Judge Richard Leon ruled that a legal challenge brought by a preservation group that sued to block President Trump's construction project was likely to succeed on the merits because, quote, no statute the government used to justify the construction, quote, comes close to giving the president the authority he claims to have. The ruling takes effect in 14 days. The Trump administration quickly told the court that it intends to appeal the ruling. In December, the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the U.S. sued the administration for allegedly failing to adhere to federal guidelines prior to demolishing the East Wing and breaking ground on a ballroom. The trust also questioned the $400 million project's funding mechanism, which is largely private donations. The ballroom project came together quickly. Mr. Trump announced it last summer, and by September, the East Wing had been torn down, even though the president previously said the existing White House structure would remain intact. Wow, we're shocked he lied. A panel of the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts filled with allies of Mr. Trump voted unanimously to approve the ballroom proposal last month. The National Park Service has said construction could wrap up by mid-2028. The project has drawn controversy from congressional Democrats and preservationist groups who argue that the Trump administration was making major changes to the White House without enough public input. The administration has defended the project, casting it as a useful addition to the complex and part of a line of alterations to the White House. In February, following the National Trust for Historic Preservation's initial lawsuit, Leon ruled that the construction could continue temporarily. He found that the group's legal challenge was not comprehensive enough to prove Mr. Trump lacked the authority to renovate the building with private funds and without congressional action. Leon allowed the National Trust for Historic Preservation to again take its legal arguments for a preliminary injunction to court earlier this month, where he expressed skepticism of the Justice Department's legal arguments defending the mechanism to pay for the ballroom. During the hearing, the judge said that the Trump administration's continued arguments that the ballroom was a legally allowable alteration to White House grounds was a brazen interpretation of the laws of the vocabulary. This isn't any national park, Leon said. This is an iconic symbol of this nation. He offered similar views in his opinion on Tuesday, quote, the President of the United States is the steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner. And yes, he used an exclamation point. I will say, as somebody who reads a lot of legal briefs, I don't see exclamation points very often. He used that. I will show you it in the actual documentation. Leon wrote, adding that, quote, the ballroom construction project must stop until Congress authorizes its completion. Leon ruled that 3 different federal laws give Congress, not the White House, authority over approving funding and alterations to federal property, and that the project must be authorized by federal lawmakers. Quote, unfortunately for defendants, unless and until Congress blesses this project through statutory authorization, construction has to stop. But here's the good news. It is not too late for Congress to authorize continued construction of the ballroom project. So again, all he's saying is you can't do it this way. You need to get Congress's approval, which you would think would be easy because he has the majority in both the House and the Senate. The president may at any time go to Congress to obtain express authority to construct a ballroom and to do so with private funds. Indeed, Congress may even choose to appropriate funds for the ballroom, or at least decide that some other funding scheme is acceptable. Either way, Congress will thereby retain its authority over the nation's property and its oversight over the government's spending, the judge added. Mr. Trump has claimed to have raised the 500 million or 400 million he says is necessary for construction from private donors and major corporations like Lockheed Martin, Amazon, and Microsoft, many which have businesses before the government. So, I will show you.
Well, if you take the Supreme Court and I was trying to do a Lockheed Martin joke, but I couldn't think of it too fast.
So, here's the order from the judge, okay? And it will have all the language that CBS was citing in here for you, where you can find it. See, I told you. He is not, however, the owner, exclamation point. Like I said, I don't see exclamation points in legal briefs very often. I just don't. So that was an interesting thing to see. And then what did Donald Trump feel about that? Because that's what matters, right? Not what he can do congressionally, just about what he feels about it. Well, he talks about that yesterday.
So we feel, and we don't feel, we know that congressional approval is not necessary to put up a ballroom. And many things have been built on the site, they've never gotten congressional approval. And especially when the money is all put up, this is all.
Sure. So there have been changes, but the thing is it's very specific. We went over this at like the beginning of the year when he started doing this. The changes you are allowed to make have to not interfere with the original structure or else you need congressional approval. And that's the thing. He said it would not interfere with the original structure and it did. And he lied. And so that then requires congressional approval.
Donations by people that love our country, that love the White House, and that feel it was very necessary. Yeah.
A couple of questions.
He feels that he doesn't need congressional approval. Well, that's too bad because that's not what the Constitution or the law says. W. Lanati for the $5 on the PayPal. I am now identifying as MAGA. Wink. Nice knowing you. How dare you? How dare you? Thank you, like
April Fools!
Happy April 1st, everybody!
It would be so shitty to have your birthday on this day.
Yeah, especially if your parents are a bunch of sarcastic assholes. You wouldn't want to do that. That would be a
Right.
mess. That would be no fun for anybody.
Nope.
And so here he goes. He rails off about the need for congressional approval again. The issue with this one here is that I don't think he doesn't understand it. I don't know why I said I don't think. I know he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand the Constitution. He doesn't understand the law. And even if he did, he doesn't give a fuck about it, right? He wipes his ass with it all the time. So he's going to complain about the need for congressional approval, but he's doing it off of the basis that because it's privately funded, you don't need congressional approval. That's not how this works. It's the change of the structure in and of itself that would need the approval. Funding would also need approval, but only if it was being used from taxpayer money. The fact that you're using private funds to build it doesn't mean anything to the fact that Congress would still need to approve the actual construction changes.
Also, a judge just ordered you to stop construction of the ballroom. Are you planning to stop?
Well, we'll appeal that, but it's not, I don't know, it's basically, I wrote a part of his opinion.
He wrote part of his opinion or he read it? He read it. By the way, I know it's a little hard to see. Can you see this? That's Sharpie. Again. What if he was writing classified notes, like secrets, on a piece of paper in Sharpie that you could just read through? That's wild. Yes, they do forget that the White House is a historic monument. It's the same as if, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there are places in most every state, specifically if you get to East Coast states, but we even have it here in Colorado where we have historic districts, right? These places hold a lot of history to the state or the nation. If you buy a home in these historic districts, you have a lot of rules about what you are able to do inside and outside of the house. Now imagine that times 10 for the motherfucking White House. Okay.
But basically he's saying I need congressional approval. And he's so wrong. This is being financed privately.
That's not the part that matters. The part that matters is the construction aspect, the fact that you tore down the east wing of the White House. That needs congressional approval to continue your build. It's not about the bribes you're receiving so that these tech companies can get benefit from you sitting as the president. It's not about who's funding it. It would be if you were using taxpayer dollars, yes, then that would be a separate congressional approval you would need.
Donation that's being given by companies, very rich people.
Nobody cares.
That for 150 years they've wanted a ballroom here. We're going to have the finest ballroom, I believe, anywhere in the world. And he said, we need congressional approval. Well, they don't get congressional approval from the White House. When they do things, they don't, especially when we didn't ask for any tax money. We have no taxes.
That's not the point.
Taxpayer free. We have no taxpayer putting up 10 cents. And I see right here,
Also, Cliff, Obama didn't add a basketball court. There was already a tennis court that he adapted so that you could also play basketball there. You could choose. If you wanted to play tennis, you could play tennis. If you wanted to play basketball, you could. So he just adapted something. He didn't tear down anything.
He said, we need congressional approval. Well, we built many things at the White House over the years. They don't get congressional approval when they build in the White House. It's totally separate. And especially when it's a donation. I mean, the ballroom is a donation. It's gotten great reviews. People love it. And presidents for
Nobody
150
cares.
years have wanted this ballroom to be built because when we
Literally nobody cares. People can't afford food. People can't afford gas. We are going to be sending our service members into the Middle East. Nobody gives a fuck about your giant ballroom because, baby, it's small, and we know because Stormy Daniels said it was small.
we have President Xi or other presidents or prime ministers coming, we don't have a big room. We have the East Room, which is very small. And he said we need congressional approval. He also said, but this is positive for us, I'm allowed, that meaning we are allowed to continue building as necessary to, let's see, what is that?
He can't read. I just want you guys to know. As he makes fun of people with dyslexia, as he is ableist than a motherfucker, he can't read.
To cover the safety and security of the White House and its grounds.
So what that means, because he's going to describe it wrong, what that means is that the construction you are allowed to do has to maintain the safety, right? Replacing bulletproof glass, replacing perimeter fencing, things like that you absolutely are allowed to keep doing. But the ballroom, you need congressional approval to do because it's new construction.
It says here very carefully, the safety and security have to be protected of the White House grounds. Well, that's what we're doing because everything's bulletproof glass, et cetera, et cetera.
Duh. But not your personal fucking fallout shelter that you're trying to fucking build that's going to be bigger than even the actual Oval Office is, which is wild. Here is another one that he's not going to like very much is Judge Mehta advances theming running civil lawsuit. So this is civil. This is not criminal, but civil lawsuit by lawmakers and cops against Trump over January 6th. Specifically, he says Trump's rally speech and call to Raffensperger. If you guys remember, he called Raffensperger, the attorney general, I believe, in Georgia, and said, we need to find 11,780 votes. Among other acts, are not plainly immune conduct and can advance toward trial. So you have here in the documentation, again, I will have the actual link to the full brief for you. Before moving on, the court returns to where it began its discussions of the ellipses speech. Its content confirms what the court's objective assessment of the context makes evident. President Trump has not shown that the speech reasonably can be understood as falling within the outer perimeter of his presidential duties. The court provided a lengthy summary of the speech in Thompson and does not repeat it here for present purposes. It suffices to quote what the court previously held. While the speech did touch on matters of public concern, namely President Trump's pledge to work on election laws in a second term, the main thrust of the speech was not focused on policy or legislation. It was to complain about perceived cases of election fraud that led President-elect Biden to win more votes in closely contested states. to urge members of Congress to object to certain state certifications, and to exhort the vice president to return these certifications to those states to be recertified. Much like the tweets leading up to the January 6th rally, the words spoken by the president without delving into the motivation behind them reflect an electoral purpose, not speech in furtherance of any official duty. Or, put another way, President Trump's alleged words and actions were directed toward promoting his victory in the 2020 presidential election rather than carrying out his designated official duty to confirm the integrity of the electoral process, to ensure faithful execution of the laws, or to fulfill other purposes. The content of the ellipsis speech confirms that it is not covered by official acts immunity. So remember when SCOTUS gave him immunity for quote-unquote official acts. The judge in this civil case is stating that the speech does not qualify as a official act, thereby he's not protected. The call to Raffensperger, on the other hand, can only reasonably be viewed as an act of an office seeker. President Trump highlights that his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, was on the call, but the 11th Circuit has ruled that Meadows was not acting in an official capacity when speaking to Raffensperger. See State v. Meadows. Meadows' participation in the call reflected a clear attempt to further Trump's private litigation interests. He urged the participants to, quote, find a path forward that's less litigious. This court agrees. The other three participants with the president were all, quote, attorneys of the Trump campaign, Cleta Mitchell, Kurt Hilbert, and Alex Kaufman. The context renders the only reasonable understanding of that communication to be re-election activity. And content confirms that conclusion. President Trump told the Georgia Secretary of State, among other things, so not Attorney General, Secretary of State Raffensperger, quote, and the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least. That's the real truth, but we don't need 400,000. We need less than 2,000. And he continued, quote, so what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. You know, we have that in spades already. Also, during the call, the president said to his campaign lawyer, Cleta Mitchell, quote, all we have to do, Cleta, is find 11,000 plus votes. These are the words of an office seeker imploring a state official to alter the outcome of Georgia's election, not those of an incumbent president acting in his official capacity. So that's going to be an interesting civil case to keep an eye on and keep track of. And again, just to show you, because I like to prove that I do, this is the actual brief that's going to have all the things mentioned in that tweet. Kyle Cheney is fantastic for stuff in regards to judicial cases going through. I just want to make sure you all knew that I have it. So Trump is going to complain about all his losses yesterday and give reasoning to why he's losing, right? Because when he wins on the merits. But when he loses, it's because of radical left judges. Again, MAGA, who's mad in the chat, you can call in the numbers on the screen, but you will defend it with factually based evidence, not your feelings. And especially when it comes to this, the civil case, in regards to the rulings on 2020, if you have information that the lawyers don't have, you should probably contact them and not me. Because over 60 court cases, I think that it's really, really implausible that you have something that his lawyers don't have. 6 years later, no evidence to be shown, but, sure.
Judges, not just justices. You go before some of these Democrats.
Daryl, I showed a quick view of my proof of what? I wasn't proving anything. All I was doing, what are you talking about? This is how I know you guys lack comprehension skills. I wasn't showing proof of anything. All I showed you was a judge in regards to this civil case against Donald Trump, the person, okay? The judge ruled that the case could go forward to litigation based off of what I read to you. That's not proof of anything. The case still has to go through litigation. I was just showing you what the judge ruled. Are you okay? Okay.
Judges, not just justices. You go before some of these Democrat judges in Washington, D.C., and you don't have a chance.
By the way, one of the judges who ruled against him yesterday was a Bush appointee. So, hi, Ari.
That's why I gave pardons to hundreds of people that were so badly treated, having to do with J6.
Not hundreds. 1,500 people. And like we talked about yesterday, if you missed yesterday's stream, please go back and watch this part particularly, which is that my frustration with pardoning every single person in regards to Jan 6 is the fact that he didn't do case by case. Some of these people are just fucking criminals. Some of them were. If you want to take the people who got like trespassing charges or whatever and you wanted to pardon them, I honestly probably wouldn't even care. But the problem is that we had somebody who yesterday, I showed you the reporting from the DOJ themselves and reported by NBC News, who then cited, hyperlinked the DOJ, is that a person who was arrested at the Jan 6 riot during the course of his case, in the process of discovery in his case, was found to have over 100,000 pieces of CSAM material. If you don't know what CSAM is, it is material of people harming children. He was found to have 100,000 pieces of that. On top of that, other things in his computer in regards to the harming of animals and the harming of women. Again, Johnny, I said NBC News reported it. You guys do not have critical thinking. NBC News is a secondary source. The primary source is going to be the DOJ, which I said is hyperlinked so you can click it, about this man. He was a Jan 6er who was pardoned by Donald Trump. But separately, which by the way, his lawyer tried to argue that since this material, 100,000 pieces of material of harming children, was found in the course of prosecuting him for Jan 6, it should be pardoned. Are you okay with that? Because I'm not. So my issue, it's not fake news. I literally showed it on my stream yesterday. My issue is that Donald Trump did not have a team come together and do a case-by-case basis of these people to ensure who would be worthy of a pardon or not. He just pardoned everybody. That's a fucking problem. Here, I'll show you again. Let's show you the DOJ's first. Amherst man sentenced to 4 years in prison for possessing enormous child pornography collection. An Amherst man has been sentenced federal court for possessing more than 100,000 files of sexual abuse material. CSAM. Daniel Tochi, 31. Okay? This is from the DOJ in regards to that. NBC reported on it. Daniel Tochi's attorney had previously argued that the case should be dismissed because, quote, all the evidence stemmed from his Capitol siege case. Yes, it's one person, Johnny. I agree. It is one person, which is why he should have had a panel of people who reviewed these cases before pardoning everybody. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why you can't be on the same page with me about that. I'm not saying throw them all back in jail. I am saying why wasn't he, and there's more than one. It's not one. There have been multiple people who've been put in prison for either having CSAM or for harming children after the fact. But he didn't do his due diligence. He just auto-penned them free. And yes, he used the auto-pen. He did not sign 1,600 or 1,500 individual fucking things. We'll let him finish. He's got like 5 seconds of talking left. Let him finish. Here, I'll go back a little bit.
Having to do with J6, yeah?
President says next.
Okay, that was it. It was just them. I hate when they do that. Don't give me 3 seconds of the reporters fighting to ask him a question. I really don't care. So let's move on to some election stuff. Noam is actually, she's back on the trail. This was before the stuff about her husband came out. She went on News Nation and she's asked specifically about if Mike Pence did the right thing or the wrong thing on January 6th. And her answer is interesting. Guys, remember that I am basically crowdfunded by you. You guys help keep my bills going and keep my lights on. So I have 9-0 left of my goal. I am here for another hour. If we could start getting that completed, I would appreciate it. 90 of you over here. We're almost to 50,000 likes. Let's make sure we hit that 50,000 like mark. I would appreciate it. Then we can work on 75,000. I would love that so very much. Thank you guys for being here. And yeah, just keep supporting, please, because it's the only way I'm able to keep doing this.
To be the one who sets the example and to lead the world. My hope is that Mike Pence will endorse President Trump soon, because it's critically important that we're unified and working together to make sure that we take back the White House.
Right, but you didn't answer my question. Did Mike Pence do the right thing?
Okay, so obviously this was prior to them winning. This would have been in 2024. Mike Pence did not end up endorsing Donald Trump.
Or the wrong thing on January?
Yeah, Lynatti, that would be why. That would be why they're asking about it. They're asking about it because if he would have lost, would he have accepted that?
House.
Right, but you didn't answer my question. Did Mike Pence do the right thing or the wrong thing on January
I don't talk in
6th?
hypotheticals. The law's changed. That situation will never happen again because the law's been changed. So I don't answer hypothetical questions.
It's not hypothetical. I'm just
It
asking
is, because
you,
it'll never happen again.
But
Can we ensure that? Is Donald Trump going to leave? Is he going to actually listen to the peaceful transfer of power like he was supposed to? Because he definitely didn't the first time.
what he did that day.
You know, looking back that day, I wasn't in the situation. Didn't have the information he had. You know, I just think that Mike Pence today is making the wrong decision by not endorsing President Trump.
All right.
To be the one.
The information that Mike Pence had was the Constitution. He has made this clear in multiple interviews over and over and over again. Mike Pence has said, I did not have the constitutional authority to reject the certified electors. I did not have that authority. And again, I don't give Pence much credit for anything, but I give him credit, the bare minimum bar, that he did his job. And when they were given the option to delay, okay, he, to another day to finish certification, he said, no, I'm going to do my job. And he went back in there and they finished. What he had on his side was the Constitution. But, you know, Trump lives in delusion and nobody will tell Peepaw no. I don't understand why we keep putting up with this shit. Like, it is, small W. The litmus test for this is wild for y'all. Like, we wouldn't have any conversations. That's the only reason I don't. If I did the litmus test that I want to. Because if I did those, we just wouldn't have people to talk to, which would be perfectly fine with me, but I need y'all to support me regardless.
But just to finish up with the New York Times, if you read the New York Times prior to my election victory, including the first one, and the second one too, I won 3 times. I won 3 times convincingly.
No, you didn't. And you have provided no evidence to the contrary. You provided no evidence to prove that you won. You just say it.
But let's go to the third victory. If you read the New York Times, you would say, oh, Trump's going to lose. But I won in a landslide. I won the popular vote.
No, he didn't. No, you won the plurality. We do plurality in this country, and you won the plurality. You didn't even break 50%. So no, you didn't. He won. I'm not disputing that. There are questions. If you would like to watch the Election Truth Alliance, please feel free to do so. I will not make those claims here. He won in 2024. It wasn't a landslide. He won with a 1.5% margin. That's nothing. And he did not win the popular vote. He won the plurality. This is just bumper sticker rhetoric to make him feel better and to make you feel better.
I won the Electoral College in a massive number, right? Massive. I won the counties. 86% of the counties I won.
Sure. Because you guys, we do Electoral College, we do DEI for Republicans, and we make sure that land and cows can vote so that you guys can win. Okay. In regards to elections, again, Donald Trump signed an executive order in regards to mail-in voting yesterday. I don't have the actual executive order number. If anybody has the title or the number so I can bring it up, I would appreciate it. Yeah, AG Barr also said that.
Oh,
for the mail-in vote? Yeah.
It's like the first one you see when you log in
White House executive orders. It would be on the Federal Register too somewhere, but. Oh, perfect. Yep. I like that they do it that way. Okay. Thank you, Olive. So, ensuring citizenship verification and integrity in federal elections by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, including the Help America Vote Act of 2002, the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, and the federal government's constitutional obligation to guarantee a Republican form of government to every state in the Union. U.S. Constitution Article 4, Section 4, it is hereby ordered. The right to vote in federal elections is, I love, you see how he tries to force you to sign up? It's crazy. The right to vote in federal elections is reserved exclusively for citizens of the United States under the Constitution and federal law. Yes, it is. Federal statutes explicitly prohibit non-citizens from registering to vote or voting in federal elections and impose criminal penalty for violations. Yep, okay. The Social Security Administration maintains records that, in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security's Systemic Alien Verification for Entitlement SAVE program under 42 U.S.C. 1320b7, can assist in verifying identity and federal election voter eligibility. The federal government has an unavoidable duty under Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States to enforce federal law, which includes preventing violations of federal crime law and maintaining public confidence in election outcomes. Okay? To enhance election integrity via the United States mail, additional measures are necessary. Secure ballot envelope identifiers provide a reliable, auditable mechanism to enforce federal law without unduly burdening or infringing on the rights of eligible voters. Unique ballot envelope identifiers such as barcodes enable confirmation that only citizens receive and cast ballots, reducing the risk of fraud and protecting the integrity of federal elections. So I'm actually going to go to this clip real quick since he's talking about that and have Nutlick explain to you what that just said. Oops, I was already on the screen. I'm so used to having to press the buttons.
Howard?
So the fundamentals of our democracy are...
Also, real quick side note, this is the guy who we know has lied about being friends with Epstein. He said he met him, they were neighbors, and that him and his wife decided they were never going to speak to that weirdo again, and then took their entire family on vacation to his island. Okay, anyway.
Howard?
So the fundamentals of our democracy are built on voter integrity. Right? We all need it. You've said it time and time again. It's a total agreement amongst everybody. So here's the idea.
Dano, you've got it already.
Right, run these elections. They will, if they want to use the U.S. mail, the U.S. Postal Service, they're going to get a code, a barcode from the U.S. Postal Service, and they're going to put that on the envelope, and we will have one envelope per vote. None of this time where we have no idea, there's no observers to mail, there's no envelopes, there's no certainty. That's all going to go away, and what the president is doing today is he's going to make sure that mail-in ballots are safe, secure, and accurate, and will have a clear distinction. If you voted by mail, you will have it on the envelope. Obviously not on the ballot, but on the envelope. So we will know 1 million mail-in ballots. There'll be 1 million envelopes, and you'll be able to know exactly, correctly, that citizens voted.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing, and Dano already got there, which I appreciate. We already do this for mail-in voting. We already fucking do this. For example, here's Colorado, who's been doing mail-in voting for more than a decade. This is one side of the ballot. This is the envelope, okay? This is the envelope as a Colorado resident who gets mail-in voting, and I never mail it because I always run out of time, so I physically have to go to a drop box and drop it off, whatever. And we have something called ballot tracks. So when it is received, you get a text that it has been received. You also get an email that it has been received. So what they are talking about doing is putting a barcode on mail-in ballots. Hey, dummy, we already do that. So on one side is going to be your address, everything addressed to you that says this is your ballot, right? The ballot is going to be on the inside. You tear that one open. Inside is this envelope, which is the one you would send it in, okay? On the back of it, where you have a little tear strip, sticky, sealed, okay? You will put your signature that they will then match and verify to your DMV or voter registration record to ensure that it was you. There's this little barcode right there. they can track your ballot. Because we already do this. They are selling you something that already exists. You guys are not smart. John Johnson says the Democrats, which I'm not a Democrat, I'm actually a registered independent in Colorado, always fighting against common sense. The common sense is that we already do this. This is not new. And look, even the single most common reason for rejected ballot in Colorado is a mismatched signature between your mail-in envelope and the signature on file for you. And again, we went over 2 weeks ago, even the Heritage Foundation, the super right-wing organization who is the implementers of Project 2025, on their own website have drop-down menus for you to look at of voter fraud. It is not an issue that needs to be addressed, and even if you're going to address it, this doesn't do anything because this is what we already do. All right, so let's keep reading. Establishment and transmission of state citizenship lists and prioritization of investigations and prosecutions related to election fraud. To the extent feasible and consistent with applicable law, including but not limited to the Privacy Act of 1974, the Secretary of Homeland Security, through the Director of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services and in coordination with the Commissioner of SSA, shall take appropriate action to compile and transmit to the chief election official of each state a list of individuals confirmed to be United States citizens who will be above the age of 18 at the time of an upcoming federal election and who maintain a resident in the subject state citizenship list. So DHS and SSA are going to provide this when the state already has access to this with their voter registration record. Dano, that's a great way to describe it. The SAVE Act is a solution looking for a problem. Yeah. It's just distraction. If they can distract you with this, then you won't focus on what he's doing in Iran and with your prices and how he's not helping you make life affordable, because he's not. He's not doing that. The things he promised, he's not doing that. The state citizenship list shall be derived from federal citizenship and naturalization records, SSA records, SAVE data, and other relevant federal databases. The state citizenship list shall be updated and transmitted to state election officials no fewer than 60 days before each regularly scheduled federal election or promptly upon request by a state in connection with any special federal election. So just the general? Are we not worried about primaries anymore? I guess people can fraudulently vote in primaries, but just not in the general, right? That's fine. But also, the states already have these lists for people who are registered. They go through them. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish procedures to allow individuals to access their individual records as well as to update or correct them in advance of elections. This is just a way for them to get a list of you, by the way. I thought you guys were against the idea of big government, right? What do they call it? Big Brother? I thought you guys were against that. How quickly Don't Tread on Me died when you decided to lick Donald Trump's taint. Enable states to routinely supplement and provide suggested modifications or amendments to the state citizenship list transmitted thereto. An individual's identification on the state citizenship list does not indicate the individual has been properly registered to vote in the state. State and federal laws and state procedures must still be followed for an individual to be registered to vote. Duh. There may be state laws not reflected in the state citizenship list that preclude voter registration, or the individual may choose not to be registered. I want to get to the part. This is the one. I think. United States Postal Service rulemaking on mail-in and absentee ballots. The unlawful use of the mail in connection with elections is prohibited by various federal statutes. It lists them. To ensure the faithful execution of federal law, protect the integrity of the mail as a medium for transmitting federal election ballots, and establish uniform standards for mail-in or absentee ballot services implemented through the United States Postal Service, USPS. The Postmaster General is hereby directed to initiate a proposed rulemaking pursuant to 39 U.S.C. 401 and other applicable authority within 60 days of the date of this order. The notice of proposed rulemaking shall include at minimum the following. No federal registry for gun ownership, but for your citizenship in regards to your voting. Proposed provisions specifying that all outbound ballot mail must be mailed in an envelope that is marked as official election mail, including through designated markings provided by USPS for the service, such as the official election mail logo as necessary and appropriate. We already do that. B, is automation compatible and bears a unique intelligent mail barcode or successor USPS technology that facilitates tracking is consistent with the other requirements of this section and has undergone a mail envelope design review by the USPS to ensure compliance with USPS mailing standards, including barcode placement. Again, we already do this, which actually I meant to make fun of Nutlick because he said, it comes with a little barcode sticker that you put on the envelope. That would be insecure as fuck. People will forget to put it on there. People might not receive it. People might throw that part of it away. That's why we just print it on there, dummy. We've been doing this for decades. Where have you been? Okay. Where's the one? There's one that are basically trying to give the Postmaster General the job. Oh, here it is. The USPS shall coordinate with the USPS Office of Inspector General and the Department of Justice for investigation of suspected unlawful use of the mail involving federal election materials. But we already do that too. There are rules about how many ballots you are allowed to drop off as a single individual, even if you live in a household, right? It has to be only the ones of your household. Like I couldn't drop off like my entire neighborhood's ballots. That would look really bad. You can't do that. So these are already things that we do. I will have that over here. But this video where he's signing the executive order in and of itself made me laugh. Because he already knows it's going to court and that it means nothing. Here's his Sharpie.
Okay, so that's a big deal.
It's not.
Very
It
proud.
literally,
And
this is literally one of the most nothing burger fucking EOs he's ever done, including the interest rate on your credit cards. Is your credit card interest rate stuck at 10%, anybody, by chance? Did he bring that down for you? Oh, no, because executive orders don't have any business over private corporations.
I don't know how it can be challenged. I'll
Like Harold and his fucking purple crayon. Yes, trademark.
probably challenge it. You may find a rogue judge. You got a lot of rogue judges. Very bad people, very bad judges. But that's the only way that can be changed, and hopefully we'll win an appeal if it is, but I don't see how anybody can challenge it.
See, there's this pesky thing. This really annoying piece of paper that just happens to be really important to the foundation of our nation. It's called the Constitution. And in it, it dictates that states run their elections. So, and again, everything you're signing is a nothing burger because the states that do mail-in voting and have done mail-in voting for decades already do the things you said. This is for you, MAGA. He is performing for you. Clap. The monkey is doing the dance to the organ. That's for you. This isn't for anybody who's intelligent. Again, remember Donald Trump said, smart people don't like me. This is performative for you. We already do these things in regards to mail-in voting. We already know that the fraud in voting is about 0.001 or 0.0001%. It's not affecting elections in any significant way. But, you guys will clap for this. You guys will say he's doing so many good things. He's literally just doing what the law already says we do in these states. I'm not quoting media. Who am I quoting that said this? I'm quoting myself. This is the Constitution. This is the law.
I don't see how they can challenge it. And remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting in our country, because if you don't have honest voting, you can't have really a nation, if you want to know the truth.
Well, we do.
I'll give that to you.
They know they're losing, and they're losing hard. We saw that again, 20% of the seats that they lost, and also the seats that they are losing this year in places like Arkansas, or even his local House district in Mar-a-Lago that he lost, even though he won that district in the presidency by plus 13 points. I don't get my talking points from the media. I actually make them myself. I say what I know to be true based off of factual evidence. Johnny, you don't know anything about Harris and the primary. We voted in the primary for Biden and Harris, with the assumption that the delegates would go to Harris if anything were to happen to Joe Biden. The Democratic Party, we'll go through this again. The Democratic Party, when Joe Biden stepped down, could have had an open primary. They could have done that. Nobody decided to challenge because it was just easier with the way that the delegates and the way that the donations are signed up to go to the Biden admin, therefore the Harris admin underneath him when he stepped down. It was easier with the amount of days she had to campaign because Biden was a fucking idiot and didn't step down beforehand and decided to run. He should not have run at all. We could have had a better open primary. Sure. I absolutely will agree with you on that. He was selfish. He was egotistical. He was a man. Wow, I'm shocked. But per the rules in the primary, we did vote for her as well. So there was a primary. Show me, James, where it wasn't legal. You guys can't do that. So cry about it, I guess. You guys would never have voted Democratic in your life anyway, so I don't know why you care. I have a couple little things on the economy. Let's see. But do I want to do that or do I want to move here? Let's see. No, that one's kind of... I guess let's show how bad it's going for Republicans. So not economy. We'll move on to this. So this is Congressman Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler is a disgusting human. And he held a town hall in Rockland, New York. It did not go well, so much so that he had to have actual people at the town hall removed and then just decided, since it still wasn't going well, that he was going to run. And he left and he fled. Guys, as we're sitting here, 97 people over here on TikTok. I have about 30 more minutes to be here. If we could get those likes up, I would really appreciate it. I know you guys can hit 100,000 before I end today. I know you can do it. I need you guys to work those fingers. I need you guys to support me in any way that you can. I have 90 left on my goal. If we could start a dollar train or do a $2 train to try to get that down, I would appreciate it. Guys, it is the start of a new month, so we're going to have a new BLM bake sale. Make sure you get your Antifa dues and your George Soros dues in so that we can have wonderful things like intersectionality and no justice, no peach cobbler. Thank you, Trademark, for the fireworks. I appreciate it. I'm only able to do this if you guys continue to support, and I appreciate that you do. Again, I'm multi-streaming, so I am over there on Twitch and YouTube. YouTube is obviously the chaotic place. If you like to argue, you can argue with them here. Starved Baby says, what a grifter. So, guys, help out and prove to Starved Baby that I am not a grifter, or that I am, whichever one you want to prove, because, you know, I don't believe in anything that I say. I just, you know, do this for the grift that I'm not getting. Sure. Because you can survive off of this. Sure. Anyway, Mike Lawler in his town hall.
Fuck you!
I apologize for that.
You! This is what I serve my fucking country for! Freedom of speech, you piece of shit!
Feel free to leave.
I'm a constituent. What's your question?
If you're going to act like that, you've interrupted repeatedly. Hey, we're just going to wait until you're done.
Answer the question. Freedom of speech,
That's
dude.
freedom of speech. Let him stay.
Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay.
John Johnson, one that has nothing to do with what we're watching right now, which is a town hall. The only thing I'll commend Mike Lawler on is having one, because my representative, Gabe Evans, has not had a town hall at all in the entirety of his 2 years in office here. But John Johnson, you said that the Constitution says we have the right to a firearm too, but you people don't seem to understand that. I'm a leftist. Sweetheart, come far enough left, you get your guns back. Arm the proletariat, am I right? Okay.
I want you to answer the question, just like all your constituents here.
People in the audience who are not comfortable with being recorded, please refrain from recording.
Dude, fuck you! This is fucking wrong. I can't believe you guys are participating in this shit. The young man had rights. This young man had rights. Fuck you, Lawler. Fuck you. I served my country for pieces of shit like you. Go fuck yourself.
And he did later walk out of that town hall that he held. They're not happy with him. Don't know if you know, a lot of places in New York are super red, and so they're pissed. And it's bad. Why is it bad? Because they're not doing their job as Congress people, whether I agree with a lot of their policy or not, and I don't. I don't agree with certain things in regards to their policy. A lot of it is going to be social. Some of it is going to be fiscal because they lie and say that they don't want to spend money and then they spend the most money. But you do have somebody like Senator Rand Paul, who is more libertarian than he is Republican and conservative. He likes cuts. He would cut everything if he could. And I don't agree with him on that. Me and him would differentiate on that. However, he does talk about the fact that Congress is conceding their power right now. And that's where the problem is that Congress was meant to have power. It was meant to check the executive branch, and he's going to talk about that in regards to how James Madison described it.
For Paul, this moment is testing whether Congress, now in Republican control, will assert itself, as Founding Father James Madison intended.
When people look at all of this, are they seeing Congress functioning as a co-equal branch of government when it comes to foreign policy and war powers or not?
Not. Madison said that we give the legislature certain powers and the president certain powers, and as each tried to grasp for the power, they would check and balance each other. I don't think our founders ever imagined our current Congress that is completely lacking in ambition. They don't check the president.
For Paul,
he doesn't like that. They've earned their seats. They were elected, duly elected by their representatives. Yes, there's also fucking gerrymandering that goes on, which is a different conversation, but they were duly elected by the constituents in their area. Their job is to represent them. Their job is to represent those ambitions of those constituents, and they're not doing that at all. They are coming out and saying that their job is to serve the president, and it's not. Their job is to serve the people that they serve. This is going to be a real harsh pivot. You can sue me for the neck break that this is. J.D. Vance did this interview with Benny Johnson, which I have another one very similar to that, but I think I'm going to play that one at the end because this one I find dangerous. The other one I just find ridiculous. So J.D. Vance sat down and did an interview with Benny Johnson in regards to UFOs. So now, guys, pay attention. We're not talking about aliens in the country. We were talking about extraterrestrials. And although people might see this as a funny joke, knowing what I know about J.D. Vance and his religious extremism, these are the kind of things that scare me as a person who, one, reads the Bible, but two, knows and understands the Constitution's rule, which is why they put it first, of a separation between church and state.
You're going to release all the UFO files?
We're working on it. It's funny. When I came in, I was obsessed with the UFO files. And then you start getting really busy worrying about the economy and national security and things like that. But I've still got 3 more years as vice president. I will get to the bottom of the UFO.
Brandon, what I'm going to do in a few years when Trump is out of office is still be right here, critiquing the Congress and the president that will be in power at the time. Because that's what I do. I'm a political commentator, and I try to push people to get into grassroots efforts to vote locally on your water board, your energy board, your school board, on your city council members. I want to ensure that people are paying attention to what affects them every single day, and I want to make sure that our Congress people that we put in power in the House of Representatives and the Senate are doing their goddamn job. And I want to make sure the president is also doing that job and not throwing us bullshit. So I will still be here, regardless of who is in office. That's my job.
Files.
Okay. Have you peeked? Have you done a peek?
Have I what?
Have you done a peek? I mean, like,
So I actually haven't. I
the
have
full
not.
Independence Day.
I have. I have not been able to spend enough time on this to really understand it, but I am going to. Trust me, I'm obsessed with this. I've already had a couple of times where I'm like, all right, we're going to Area 51. We're going out to New Mexico. We're going to sort of get to the bottom of this. And then the timing of the trip just didn't work out. But trust me, anybody who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody. And I've got 3 years of the very, very tippy top of the classification. I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, so you haven't been to Area 51 yet?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Some
Not
people
yet.
say they keep the UFOs in Ohio. They might,
Yeah, Hangar
right
18, Hangar 18,
right
right?
under your nose the whole time.
I've heard that as well, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay, all right. Well, we're waiting for it. We saw aliens.gov.
You know me.
We saw
You know me.
aliens.gov.
I don't think they're.
All right. This is the part I want you to listen to right here, that he says this. Now remember, he is a religious extremist. He is a Christo-fascist. Listen to him speak.
I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway, but that's a longer discussion.
That's a problem. The people who think like that are the people who see their children as zombies and demons and kill them. That's a fucking problem. I don't see them as aliens, I see them as demons. Based on what evidence? What?
Can't let you go without a follow-up on that. Because Barack Obama is on this podcast and he goes, yeah, aliens are real, but like, here's where they're not. And, you know.
They're all so jealous of his voice. You wish you sounded like Obama, Benny. Oh, sweetheart. How's that grinder looking, sweetie?
And so Obama says,
I didn't
yes,
hear that
aliens
one.
He gets asked point blank, are aliens real? He said, oh, yeah. And then he goes, but they're not at Area 51. And
Well, where are they, bro?
Well, that's what he says. Right. That's a great question.
Congress, to be fair, the amount of times that Congress have come out and admitted that there are aliens, they've never said it was at Area 51. They've said it was like under the ocean, which is terrifying in and of itself, but you know.
Trump had to go save him, and he said he's going to
podcast.
declassify.
Okay.
So you think they're demons?
Well, look, I think that celestial beings who fly around, who do weird things to people, I think that the desire to describe everything celestial, everything is otherworldly, to describe it as aliens.
Spell celestial.
Yeah, I bet
like
you
the
can't.
teas. Celestial seasonings. By the way, Dre, I appreciate you and your support over there. You're absolutely right. They sit here and yell about me needing a job and I'm grifting and I don't have a job. But they're here. Cliff has been here every day so far the last week. By the way, for the grift, W. Justin for the $3 train. I'm still going to call it a train. Choo-choo for the dirty grift. I'll keep doing it, babe. You know I will. And I appreciate you over there on my YouTube, keeping them honest. That. I'll let him finish. I don't know why, but here we go.
I mean, every great world religion, including Christianity, the one
there it is.
that I believe in, has understood that there are weird things out there, and there are things that are very difficult to explain. And I naturally go, when I hear about sort of extra natural phenomenon, that's where I go to, is the Christian understanding that, you know, there's a lot of good out there, but there's also some evil out there. And I think that one of the devil's great tricks is to convince people he never existed.
No. If anything, what the devil would do would be to convince you that somebody is divine and handpicked from God, like you guys claim Trump is. That would actually be the most evil thing the devil could do, is to convince you of a false prophet. But I don't think he reads his book. It's fine. Let's see. Let's skip that. I'll go to this. I'm sure people saw. I don't have the clip from Trump on it, but I do have this one. Hegseth reverses Army's suspension of aircrew who flew helicopters near Kid Rock's home. The Army identified the aircraft as AH-64 Apache helicopters operating in the Nashville area. There will be no punishment and no investigation after 2 Army military helicopters were flown by Kid Rock's house over the weekend, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Tuesday. The Army had suspended the aircrew involved in Saturday's incident, a U.S. official said earlier Tuesday, but Hegseth announced Tuesday evening that the suspension had been lifted and that no punishment would be forthcoming. Quote, no punishment, no investigation, carry on, patriots. We're using our money. We pay for that.
That's our tax dollars going to go visit fucking Kid Rock, where Kid Rock's like, I live in the southern White House in Nashville. By the way, where he lives is not Nashville.
But like, why are you, no, Dems would not do the same. Why are you guys okay with that? We can't get on the same page with this. What about waste, fraud, and abuse? That is a waste of our taxpayer money to fly Apache helicopters to Kid Rock's house and then to not have punishment. Because who authorized that? That's the question. In the chain of command, who authorized that shit?
What officer agreed that that was okay?
Right. That's wild. I'm just trying to find some relative common ground on simple things, which is that my taxpayer money, your taxpayer money that you work hard on, should not be used for some D-list celebrity to have a video of Apache helicopters in the background.
Because I live at the Southern White House. My God.
I think that they have more important things that they do as our service members. I actually think it's an insult to them.
It's a big insult.
To be sent there. And then this one that Crow shared with me yesterday. ICE agents will be stationed outside Marine Corps graduation events in South Carolina as the U.S. continues to fight the war in Iran. No, I don't want to just subscribe to you. Fuck off. As the U.S. continues to fight the war in Iran, the Marine Corps has boosted protection measures on bases, requiring everyone to present real IDs, passports, or birth certificates to access any sites. ICE agents will be stationed outside graduation events for the nation's newest Marines to identify whether any of their family members are undocumented, according to the Marine Corps. Because remember, Stephen Miller has a goal. Stephen Miller has a goal of 3,000 people a day. It doesn't matter whether they're criminals or not anymore. They just want to get people. As the U.S. continues the war in Iran, the Marine Corps has boosted protection measures on bases. I repeated that already, so I'm not going to repeat it again. Undocumented immigrants are generally ineligible for federal real IDs and don't have U.S. passports or birth certificates. So people without identifying documents who arrive at the gate of Marine Corps Recruit Depot at Parris Island in Beaufort, South Carolina, for recruit family days and graduation events this week may now have to answer to Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, the Marine Corps said. They're just not going to show up.
Well, and the other thing, too, is even for non-immigrants, right, for U.S. citizens, you still, as a parent who's going to go see their child graduate, you have to go through a process to get a pass, a day pass for said base. One of the things that I think is really interesting, though, is even getting that day pass for graduation is so hard and so, like, time-consuming and sometimes even fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So this whole thing... By the way, undocumented immigrants can receive citizenship if they've served in the military. That is one way for people to receive citizenship. This is not going to help with recruitment numbers. This is not going to do anything beneficial. If anything, this is going to be another deterrent away from trying to give people other ways to become U.S. citizens. So any person who is celebrating this, not only don't you care about active duty military personnel, I believe it's like 1% of the U.S. population will sign that dotted line and serve this country. So you are taking away that 1%. Of people who are more ballsy to do than what you couldn't do.
Right. Mr. Quacker says illegal aliens just call them that. I don't call them that because the government doesn't call them that. The U.S. government does not call them that. They are unauthorized or undocumented. And again, you don't know the law. So that's going to be a tough one for you, Mr. Quackers. Let's see. What else did I want to get to here? Oh, here were some more rulings. Let's get to that, of his bad fucking day that he had yesterday. Okay. But first, we're going to start with a preempt to that, which is Brendan Carr, who is in charge of the FCC, who was the person who wrote the section in Project 2025 on the FCC and how they were going to ensure that only media that was positive to Trump went through, went to CPAC and bragged about Trump, quote, winning by defunding PBS and NPR specifically. So we're going to listen to him talk about that before we get to his no good, really bad day yesterday.
And President Trump is winning. Look at the results so far. PBS defunded, NPR defunded, Joy Reid gone from MSNBC, Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd gone, Jim Acosta gone, John Dickerson gone, Colbert is leaving. CBS is under new ownership, and soon enough, CNN is going to have new ownership as well. And President Trump...
Well, you know what they say, don't put the cart before the horse, Brendan Carr, which you did. Citing First Amendment, federal judge blocks Trump order to end funding for NPR and PBS. Because guess what? It was congressionally appropriated and congressionally approved. You don't get to unilaterally decide based off of your decision that you just don't like the way they talk about you to end it. So much winning, Brendan Carr. So much winning. Title 8 calls them illegal aliens. Where? What part of Title 8? Even if it does. But here's the thing. Even if it does, you still don't know the law in regards to them.
You can't cite anything from Title 8, you absolute nitwit.
Citing the First Amendment, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday agreed to permanently block the Trump administration from implementing a presidential directive to end federal funding for National Public Radio and the Public Broadcasting Service, two media entities the White House has said are counterproductive to American priorities. The operational impact of U.S. District Judge Randolph Moss's decision was not immediately clear, both because it will likely be appealed and because too much damage to the public broadcasting system has already been done, both by the president and Congress. Moss ruled that President Donald Trump's executive order to cease funding for NPR and PBS is unlawful and unenforceable. The judge said the First Amendment right to free speech, quote, does not tolerate viewpoint discrimination and retaliation of this type. It is difficult to conceive of clearer evidence that a government action is targeted at viewpoints that the president does not like and seeks to squelch, wrote Moss. White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson said Moss's decision is, quote, a ridiculous ruling by an activist judge attempting to undermine the law. The law is that Congress approved this funding. So his executive order is unconstitutional in way of stopping it. So they're going to appeal. That's what they're going to do. Again, this is how this works. That was AP News, a secondary source, okay, showing you, or reporting on the order. Here is the actual order, okay? United States District Court for the District of Columbia, National Public Radio v. Donald Trump, Public Broadcasting v. Donald Trump. And this is the actual memorandum order that you can read through. It's 62 pages, since you guys don't understand sources. Okay. So there was that one. There is, I have a little bit on Epstein before we go, too. Comer has come out, and he said that there have been fuck-ups in the Epstein case, which I would agree with him on both sides of the aisle. Congress did not do their job in regards to this for years. And by years, I mean decades, okay? You have Bush Jr., well, really, I guess Clinton, right? From Clinton's time in office to Bush Jr. to Obama to Trump's first term to Biden's term until Trump's current term now. I would say that Congress has not done their job in way of oversight of the DOJ and oversight of the FBI in regards to what Epstein was doing and getting away with. I absolutely would agree with Comer on that. However, Comer is going to come out and lie and say that they have been a part of this and helped to depose certain people.
We've already deposed several of them, and I'll name a name right now, Lex Wexner. We deposed him for several hours. That was a bipartisan deposition. The Democrats and Republicans both grilled our staffs.
Oh, see, he even corrects himself. Both Democrats and Republicans grilled, our staff. Why? And I will show you why, because on that very, very day, February 18th, when Les Wexner was deposed, no Republicans showed up.
Nope.
Their staff did. No Republicans showed up. And he had to catch himself because he knows he fucking lied.
The Democrats and Republicans both grilled our staff attorneys who were professional deposers. Grilled Mr. Wexner, and we've released those videos. And, he either couldn't recall or claimed he wasn't that close with Epstein. That's counter to what everything in the documents would suggest.
I agree.
But because these crimes were committed decades ago, because the federal government did a terrible job putting together hardly any evidence to prosecute Epstein, it's very difficult to prove whether or not Mr. Wexner was telling the truth or not.
Well, that's interesting. There was little evidence to prosecute Epstein. Was he not arrested? Did I miss that?
He was arrested. He actually went to court, I believe, twice, right?
Actually had a court hearing before his death.
Oh, that's true.
But obviously there was enough evidence to prosecute because Donald Trump's DOJ in his first term felt there was enough to prosecute. And then he mysteriously died. So there's that. Somebody in the YouTube chat said that the files are old news. That's insane because these were children who were hurt. So maybe a quick search on Google. What are you citing on Google, Anthony? Are you citing Google AI or what are you citing from Google AI? Google AI will give you little paper clips of what they're citing. I want you to find that, not Google AI overview. I don't do that. Jeff, you can call in. My co-host, Olive, who is always here, will be able to hear you. You can't hear her. So you're not debating multiple people. You're literally just debating me.
I mean, if he feels better, I'll drop, and then,
But you can't.
I know.
He can't hear you. It wouldn't matter.
I know, but you know how men work.
They were crybaby bitches?
Besides that.
Oh, I thought it was just that. I think that was enough. But here, just further proof, this is on the day after Les Wexner's deposition on February 18th. Congressman Min cites the fact that, like Comer had to correct himself, no Republicans showed up.
It is very frustrating the fact that there are no Republicans here today. I wish there were Republicans because sex trafficking should not be a D versus R issue. It should be.
Jeff, you said the public can't charge people, so who cares? You had the office for 4 years and didn't charge all the other people. I didn't have the office. I damn sure was not a congressional representative, and I was not the president, and I was not working in the DOJ, so I damn sure couldn't charge anybody. But there's this particular person who was charged and convicted. She might have been a partner with Jeffrey Epstein, maybe. I think. Oh yeah, Ghislaine motherfucking Maxwell. Okay, cool. Glad we got that clear.
A bipartisan issue. Everybody should be invested in finding the truth right now. And the fact that we've had so little cooperation from the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee, that the DOJ has actively tried to obstruct this investigation, that is shameful, and it will go down as a permanent mark on the records of people like Pam Bondi and Donald Trump.
Brooklyn, when was that sweetheart deal accomplished? Do you know? Do you know, Brooklyn? When he was given a slap on the wrist? And by who? Do you know? It was Alexander Acosta in 2008 gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal that allowed him to actually leave the prison and continue harming women and children. And then Alexander Acosta was appointed as the labor secretary for Donald Trump. Okay. Back in 2008, 2009, those are two very different years, because two very different administrations. But Alexander Acosta in Florida at the time gave him that deal. Okay. Sure, Trump was, Jeff, you're right. I'll correct myself on that. She was arrested in July of 2020. You're right. So she was arrested under Donald Trump's DOJ in 2020. Absolutely, you are correct on that. She was convicted in 2021. And she was sentenced in 2022. And she had appeals denied in 2024, all the way up to 2025. Yeah, Alexander Acosta did resign because he was getting too many questions in regards to his sweetheart deal. All right, I'm going to play one last video. You know me, I like to do my rage bait and my funny. Unfortunately for you guys, it is two awful fucking people. Matt Gaetz did an interview with Benny Johnson. I'm sorry. But we're going to go back to UFOs for the end of today. These people aren't okay. Matt Gaetz is not okay.
I mean, I had someone come and brief me
who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. And
What? He was told by somebody in the military that we have captured aliens and that we are running a hybrid breeding program with aliens and humans to create a new race.
This is why white men shouldn't have power.
I'm going to let him repeat that and finish the video. Brooklyn, Clinton was Epstein's buddy. Go fucking get him. Why hasn't Pamela Joe Bondi, why hasn't she issued out an arrest warrant for Clinton? Go get him. I'm with you. He's a fucking sex pest, and we already knew that. Throw him under the jail. Go get him.
I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Uh-huh.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating. What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
Yeah, I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the...
Lynatti, I agree. What the fuck does this have to do with, like, things that affect the people? But, yeah, we need a tinfoil hat sticker. We probably do. I need one that I can just move onto my head when it's time for that. That's what I need.
A whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was a group, members of Congress, to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations.
I didn't verify this, yeah.
Any of those activities
I'm
could
just
not
saying
be
shit.
moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
By the way, that's the guy that Donald Trump wanted to be the Attorney General of the Department of Justice. That was his first pick. That guy. Do you think he picked Pam first? No. Let's go back. Don't rewrite history. He picked Matt Gaetz first. Matt Gaetz stepped down from the nomination because Congress finally, after months, released the ethics report that they had on him from when he was in Congress, where they had investigated him for trafficking children, 17-year-olds, for sex, and paid them to do it. Yeah, that's the guy. Donald Trump knows how to pick 'em, doesn't he, guys? He knows how to pick 'em. He only picks the best people. Picks the best motherfucking people. Yikes on bikes. These people. All right. I think tomorrow I will have, I've already started a little section where we can go into some of the argument clips of the birthright citizenship case that was argued in front of the Supreme Court this morning. So I will probably get some clips for that we can go over tomorrow. And we'll see what else the fucking world gives us. I think Donald Trump's not going to be very happy with what he heard today. So we'll see what true thing he gets. And we'll see, isn't he supposed to speak today? I think later. Who fucking knows?
At 9 p.m. Check Discord and see what you think.
Oh my God.
If you add that as an image, it should just lay on top of your head.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let's put that in there. I have to do it in OBS though, because it's how I'm doing it with my virtual camera. Image, jeez, yes, new. If I could spell where I saved it. Okay.
It's all the way up there. There you go.
Oh, and I gotta bring it down on my head. Eek!
There you go.
Lift it a little bit up.
There you go.
There we go. It's like my tinfoil hat time. That's so cute. Thank you, Olive.
You're welcome.
Kayla, are you fucking taking screenshots?
Kayla's gonna take a screenshot. There's your sticker.
And then we'll just hide it when it's not that time. All right.
Yep.
Tinfoil hat. Okay.
We're gonna have matching tinfoil hats.
Oh no, Twitch didn't get to see it though because I have to add it into Twitch. Hold on. Tinfoil hat. Okay. There you guys. Gotta be a little bigger over here. There you go. You get to see it too. My word. Are you going live again?
Nope.
Okay. I think Bill's live.
Bill is live, and I feel like that's the best way to go because we always need to uplift voices regardless of who they are.
Yeah, I saw who else was live, so I was like, I think that's the best bet for us in our community. That's where we're gonna be. So let me get my little thank yous out. So thank you, Donald. Thank you, Lenati. Thank you, and thank you, Justin. I think that's all of them today. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate you guys so much. Just to build chai. Just to build. Is it Bill Chai? Bill Chi?
I think it's Bill Chi. I don't know.
Or is it Chai because he's from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Chi Town.
Oh.
Lakin's, yeah. Like, Lainey is Laney live?
Lainey is live.
I didn't see them on here. Oh, yeah, they are live. Let's go raid Lainey.
Okay, let's do. Lainey, can you put their username?
Or Lakin, can you put Lainey's username?
Sorry, you know what I meant.
Stop it, Kayla. I love that so much. Guys, if you want to see all the fun we have in our Discord, please
Links
do.
in bios.
Links are in bio there. Just paste it into a browser, and then you have a little bit
You
of
got a
verification.
gift box.
I did. Thank you to WRNG Surgeon for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much over there on Twitch. I appreciate you so much for that. You've been killing it on the gifted sub, so thank you.
Join if you dare, aka that means Ari's gonna mute Kayla later.
You do have to fill out a ticket. I will warn you. I had somebody who I think is a friendly join and then leave yesterday, guys. If you join my Discord, you have to go in and fill out a verification ticket. There's a little channel that you will see that says verify account. Create a ticket and then fill out the ticket information, and we can get you verified.
Okay, I'm gonna drop so you can pin Lainey.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let me pin that. Thank you, Lakin. We're going to go raid Lainey. Lainey runs a nice chill space, and we haven't gone in there and supported them in a while, so that's what we're going to go do. It was Dan. I don't know what happened. Come back, Dan. I don't know. But I will be back tomorrow, Thursday, at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, whatever time that is for you. Again, I appreciate all of you being here. I need ID to verify people. I do, but I don't ask for their citizenship, Adam. See, there's a difference. Because I can verify that in a different way. That's interesting. It's not ID. It's just a screenshot of your profile. Cry harder. So yeah, let's go raid Lainey. Do a Monty raid in Lainey's. Do all of the good things when you're in there to support Lainey. Do your daily heart me. Like the stream. Share it out. Remember, you can repost. Add to your story. Share it to like 5 of your friends. Make sure we're doing all those good things and supporting our community and our friends, okay? I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you all so very much. Take care of yourselves. Spend time with friends and family. Drink some water. Do something good for yourself and unplug when you need to. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!